Imagine living next door to someone who looked completely ordinary. A quiet neighbor, a normal apartment. Nothing seemed unusual, until one night changed everything. Police entered apartment 213. What they discovered shocked America forever. This is the story of Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. To the outside world, he seemed like an ordinary American boy, growing up in a quiet suburban neighborhood. His father, Lionel Dahmer, was a chemist who spent long hours at work. His mother, Joyce Dahmer, struggled with health problems and frequently dealt with emotional difficulties. As tensions grew between his parents, the atmosphere at home became increasingly unstable. When Jeffrey was just a child, the family moved several times before eventually settling in Bath Township, Ohio. Friends and neighbors remembered him as a quiet, polite boy who rarely attracted attention. Now let's hear what Jeffrey Dahmer had to say about his childhood in one of his interviews.
No, that's a strange thing. I can't pinpoint anything. No abuse, no physical abuse, no verbal abuse. It was a normal childhood in a good home. Something went awry in my thought life. I don't know why.
Friends say the young Jeffrey exhibited some unusual interests. As he grew older, Jeffrey became more withdrawn. He found it difficult to make close friends and often preferred spending time alone. Former classmates later described him as shy, socially awkward, and emotionally distant.
Normal friendships in high school. But after that, I started in with the alcohol, drinking, a lot of solitary drinking, and really never had any close friendships after that, after high school. Just sort of lived in my own thought life, fantasy world.
Is a question many are asking. According to some experts, Jeffrey Dahmer does not fit the profile of a ritual murderer. As Jeffrey Dahmer grew older, he developed a fascination with dead animals. Years later, he spoke openly about this part of his childhood during an interview. Let's hear what he had to say.
I was interested in taxidermy in high school and experimented with preserving the bones of dogs and things like that. And whether that had anything to do with the escalation of the crimes, I don't know.
In this interview, Jeffrey Dahmer describes the urges that consumed him for years and shares his own explanation for why he killed.
I had these obsessive desires and thoughts wanting to control them, to, I don't know how to put it, keep them with me. And as my obsession grew, I was saving body parts such as skulls and skeletons.
Inside a small apartment in Milwaukee, police uncovered evidence that exposed one of the most notorious serial murder investigations in American history. What created those twisted fantasies? The suspect was an ordinary chocolate factory worker, quiet, reserved, almost invisible to the people around him. His name was Jeffrey Dahmer. Over the following hours, investigators uncovered evidence linking him to the murders of 17 young men. The story shocked the nation and quickly became headline news around the world. For years, one question haunted investigators and the public alike. How was Jeffrey Dahmer able to kill for 13 years without being stopped? For the first time, Jeffrey Dahmer agreed to speak publicly about his crimes.
When you depersonalize another person and view them as just an object for pleasure instead of a living, breathing human being, it seems to make it easier to do things you shouldn't do.
Let's hear what he had to say. For years, investigators searched for an explanation. How was Jeffrey Dahmer able to avoid suspicion for so long? According to Dahmer, the answer was surprisingly simple. He said that on the outside, he appeared completely ordinary, calm.
I always knew that it was wrong, but after the first killing was not planned. I was coming back from the shopping mall back in '78. I had had fantasies about picking up a hitchhiker and taking him back to the house and having complete control and dominance over him.
His first known victim was 18-year-old Stephen Hicks. It was the summer of 1978. Hicks was hitchhiking home after attending a local concert when Jeffrey Dahmer offered him a ride. Instead of taking him home, Dahmer drove him to his family's house. According to Dahmer's later confession, the two spent several hours together before an argument broke out. What happened next would mark the beginning of a series of murders that would continue for more than a decade. After Hicks was killed, Dahmer dismembered the body and attempted to hide the remains on his family's property. Years later, investigators confirmed these details through Dahmer's own confession and the evidence collected during the investigation. It was the first murder, and it would not be the last.
It wasn't an opportunity to fully express what I wanted to do. There was just not the physical opportunity to do it then. And I started, when I moved to Milwaukee in '81, I started reading pornography, going to the bookstores. Eventually that led to frequenting the gay bars. And then one time I brought this young man back to the hotel room, the Ambassador Hotel. Was just planning on drugging him and spending the night with him. I had no intention of hurting him. When I woke up in the morning, he had a broken rib here, was heavily bruised. Apparently I had beaten him to death with my fists.
And you have no memory
I
of it?
have no memory of it.
One of the most disturbing moments in the investigation happened in May 1991. A 14-year-old boy managed to escape from Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment and stumbled into the street, confused and in visible distress. Concerned neighbors immediately called 911. When police officers arrived, Dahmer calmly told them the boy was his 19-year-old partner and that they had simply argued after drinking. The officers accepted his explanation. They escorted the boy back into apartment 213 and left.
It's a intoxicated boyfriend of another boyfriend.
Well, how old was this child?
It wasn't a child, it was an adult.
The teenager was later identified as Conorak Synthesophone. He never left the apartment alive. He became so warped by his evil impulses that he even brought a victim's severed head to the Ambrosia chocolate factory.
I kept the mummified head and skull of one of the victims in a carrying case in my locker at work. But that's how strong the compulsion was. That's how bizarre the desire was. I wanted to keep something of the person with me.
As the years passed, Dahmer's behavior became increasingly alarming. He developed a severe drinking problem, dropped out of college, and was repeatedly arrested for sexual offenses. Tragically, one of his future victims would be the younger brother of Conorak Synthesophone. The 13-year nightmare finally ended when Tracy Edwards escaped and brought police to apartment 213. Like the others, he had been promised money in exchange for coming inside.
Listening to my heart, at that point he told me he was going to eat my heart. I hit him and I ran.
I have no memory of what happened during the 6 hours before the last victim ran out of the apartment. And the police were there with the last victim. They asked me where the key was to the handcuff. My mind was in a haze. I sort of pointed to the bedroom, and that's where they found the pictures. And they yelled, "Cuff him." I was handcuffed. It was just the realization that there was no point in trying to hide my actions anymore. The best route was to help the police identify all the victims and just make a complete confession.
Prison ended his crimes, but not the urges he claimed to struggle with.
There's no question that I deserve the death penalty. I've wondered myself why I don't have the death penalty. That's what I deserve. I deserve death.
When Jeffrey Dahmer finally confessed, detectives expected fragmented memories. Instead, he calmly described each crime in disturbing detail, recalling places, methods, and events with remarkable precision. But there was one thing he often couldn't remember: the names of many of his victims. To him, they had become objects rather than people. That chilling lack of empathy may be the most disturbing part of his entire confession.